It's the Two Gems Podcast.
What? Sheridan, you can't.
That is so annoying.
You can't just come into these episodes with nothing to talk about.
I said, did you want to take the lead on the discussion? Before we started this, you said, I've been brainstorming. So I was like, perfect.
I have nothing. I'm kidding.
Just a tumbleweed goes across.
Give me 5. It's episode 4, babe. We've made it this far. We have 3 hours of discussion behind us.
Awesome.
Crazy. Sheridan, I don't like your energy over there.
My energy's great.
Get your mic pointed around there, baby.
All right, thanks.
You still have that little zit under your nose, I see.
That's because I got my period, so.
You're falling apart at the seams.
I am.
Yeah, so here we are. We're back with another episode. And this one, I don't know. This one for me, if you let me lead the dance on this, it's going to start a little heavy because some things happened in the last little bit, and I think they're discussion worthy.
Okay, I'd love to talk about all of that. I do just want to say that I'm so happy that today was my last day to go to the VON nurses. And they were incredible people. And people had said that leading up to it. They're like, the women and men over at the VON are amazing. And thinking back that it's been what now, like over a month that I started.
Weeks or something, yeah.
And today I went and she looked at it and said, "You are free.
You're free. Roam."
And I just can't
Go live
stop
your
staring
life.
at my boobs. Like I just got dressed for this episode and I looked at them.
Me too.
No, but it's actually insane to me that I looked at my boobs for so long and one was so big and so small. And it was just unbelievable to look at them. Yeah, just get a good look.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable to look
They're
at them
symmetrical
today.
again. They look great.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the
they
human
look
body.
so good.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, sure, they're droopy, but like, I love the droop. I'm
They're
so
bomb.
I know.
I love them.
So I'm just
and they're
so happy.
symmetrical again. They
I
look
know.
great. And the way that the surgeon,
incision,
whatever,
yeah.
they ran the incision literally right along the edge of Sheridan's nipple
Yeah.
and like curved it.
I know.
So like right now it's still like a little a little weird looking, but
For you.
I think that. It's not weird, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
If they would have come in over on the side, you would have had like a gigantic gash.
They must have done that on purpose. They must have been
Yeah.
like, okay, let's cut it right there so that it perfectly lines up with her nipple.
It looks like it might just blend in, which is
I
pretty
know.
cool.
It's so exciting.
So
Even
you're
if it
done.
didn't blend in.
Good job,
Who
babe.
cares?
Yeah.
My boobs are back.
For sure. You're back, babe.
And I'll never give them away again
You're
to any
back.
tiny humans or to my husband.
I never get to touch them again.
I know. Sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to
no,
get
I
that
mean, there's
exciting
all kinds of stuff to talk about, but one thing that I wanted to say that was freaking hilarious was Sheridan and I went out for lunch on Friday. We went out and had like a little date lunch together down at the Trellis, I think. Is that what it's
Oh,
called?
yes,
The Trellis Cafe in Hubbard's, one of our favorite places to go. It's
so
Hubbard's,
good.
Nova Scotia. I actually grew up there for a portion of my life anyway.
An important portion for sure.
And anyway, one of Sheridan's favorite things in the entire world is pea soup. She's like obsessed with pea soup. Like, so Sheridan gets like her normal lunch, which would be like the sandwich, and you got some chips and whatever
Gets
else.
everything.
And then Sheridan had to go, and I see you have your soup of the day is the pea soup. So like has to turn our like $38 lunch into $100 somehow. Like by the time she gets a cider and the soup.
Got a
and
whole
everything.
loaf of bread because it was so good.
No, but I said something to you, and Sheridan, I think what it was is I was reaching to have a bite, and she pulled the bowl away from me and spit her soup out. She was laughing so hard and covered my face in pea soup and went all over my hat, all over my face, everywhere. And like everyone that was sitting out on the
Oh, the best
veranda
part was
thing.
the woman on the side. She's just in stitches. I was like, you saw that, did ya?
Yeah.
I don't know why that happened. It was so funny.
It was so funny.
That
You
was
pulled a me on the Two
I
Gems
did.
podcast.
I did, and nobody saw it.
Every
so it
episode I
wasn't
spit
live.
my drink out.
Yeah, not today, hon.
No, it was good. But yeah, this weekend was awesome.
We had a great weekend.
Super nice. It's sunny in Nova Scotia again. And for viewers that aren't from this vicinity, it's like we're very fortunate to live here in the sense that we don't go through droughts, which is nice.
Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people take for granted. It's like we bitch about the rain here like 3 months of the year, but it's like in what those people in like,
LA,
Vegas, in Vegas right now, there's no water. There's no water left. Like, I don't know what they're going to do. And like we get to live in a place that has rain like 3, 4, 5 months of the year pretty much straight.
Right.
And then summer rolls around and it's like, booyah, we get these wicked summers. It was almost 30 degrees yesterday. Nice beach day with the kids and stuff. It's freaking stellar.
Well, I was saying to some of the girls down at the beach the other day, like I can't confirm this because it's never happened to me and I've never lived anywhere other than Canada, but I always wonder if I lived somewhere that was permanently hot and nice, would I be a better parent? And I don't know, because I've never done it to know, but I know for a fact that bundling all my children up in the winter and going out in the cold for them to have to pee and poop and need a snack and come in and drag it all in, and it's dark and gloomy, and I don't want to bring the kids anywhere to do anything. But then when the summer rolls around, I'm on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone throws on their little dress and shorts, flip-flops, off you go. The sun stays out, the kids are out forever playing. So I'm like, would I be a better parent anywhere but Canada?
Or would you take it for granted? That's the thing.
That was the next thing I was going to say. Or would it just end up being the same old thing every day? Not to say that the weather is just like to complain about it, but would you end up getting into that routine as well and then just fall into the same?
Yeah.
It's like you think the grass is always greener, right? But at the same time, I love the fall. I love the spring. So I don't know.
Winter? Do you love winter?
Yeah, no, I hate the winter.
See, I like winter, and I wish we had more of a winter. Like our winters suck.
Yeah.
It's like in Nova Scotia, you get like snow and it's gone within 2 days, and then it's just like cold, rainy, ice pellety kind of stuff. Like if we had a winter where it snowed for 6 months and you could get like really into snowboarding or skiing or going out on sleds and stuff. It's like, that would be incredible, but we get the worst winters. They just suck.
I know.
It's like you can't actually commit to winter activities, but when you have kids, all 3 kids need to be bundled up. So like going to the corner store is like an hour-long adventure by the time you get all their stuff on.
And then you can't have coats with them on anymore. So you put them on and then take them off in the car because it's not safe for the coats. Like there's just so many things. It's insane.
Yeah, because you follow all the safety
But
protocols.
I also hate the winter now as a parent. When I was a kid, I really liked it.
Yeah.
You're outside, you're doing all the fun stuff. But now as a parent, it's just like triple, quadruple the amount of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
And in the summertime, it's like you literally open the front door, go kids, be free, and they just run out, Sage is naked outside half the time.
Exactly. That's huge that they can be outside running around like that. And you can actually open our doors now that we don't have all the mosquitoes coming in.
So good.
I know.
So good.
I know. But before Sunday, yesterday was Sunday, you went to the funeral on Friday, was it?
Yeah, it was Friday afternoon. And yeah, that funeral, I reflect on life a lot. I always do. But when was my last funeral? Ages ago, thankfully.
Yeah. I mean, you were also reflecting on it, I think, prior to the funeral, because you got the call on your birthday.
Yeah.
Which there's some weird sort of, I don't know the word to use, but you got a call on the day that you were born about somebody passing away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe, I don't know, out of respect, I'll keep names out of this, but I on my birthday, which was, everyone gets hype on their birthday, going out for a great day with my friends and stuff, I get a phone call from my father saying that a close family member had passed away. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those...
Well, that's not entirely true. Not close family member. A close family member's partner's father.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I guess he's not really family, but he is family. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. Like, it was close enough that I felt awful. I had never met this man.
Yes.
I had never met him.
Yeah.
But I had heard great things about him, and I know his son very well now, who's with my sister. And
such a wonderful
he's a
guy.
beautiful human being. Like, everything about him. Oh, my God. I'm going to cry. Like, I love him so much.
Mm-hmm.
I love this
From
man
day
so
one,
much.
we loved him.
Loved him.
We came home and we're like, we love this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have so many sisters, so you get to see the rotation of men coming and going, and like when you meet one of those guys, it's like,
stick around, please.
Yeah,
You're the
please do
one.
not leave this family. I love you so much.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes I don't like to perfectly live life by the saying that the apple never falls far from the tree, because I think sometimes the apple does fall very far from the tree, and like you could grow up with really shitty circumstances at home and end up being a great person.
Yeah.
But I think
Or vice versa.
Yeah, or vice versa. And I think that generally speaking, the apple's pretty close to the bottom of the tree. And like I think that when you meet great people out there, it's usually they're a product of what their parents taught them and how they raised them and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And this man at his funeral, like when you go to a funeral house and it's packed, I'm talking, there was no room left in the building. People were out on the street. People were like, so we know, I didn't get to be a part of the ceremony. Like I was listening to it through the PA system thing because there was too many people in the building. So all I could do was hear all the speeches and music and everything from down the hallway. Mm-hmm. And I think that was just another testament to how amazing of a man this person was. And yeah, like like I said, you go up to I tried to park at Starbucks, and there was no room at the Starbucks parking lot. Like there was no space to park anywhere in the vicinity of this funeral home. And so anyway, I go in there and I'm hanging out with my family, and like I said, we're in the hallway listening to everything and just hearing these stories. And it was really heavy. I find sometimes there's a little bit of fluff, like people will come in and tell stories, and it's nothing you can relate to because you don't know his friends and stuff like that. But when his daughter started speaking, it was really heavy, because it just makes me think like a day will come when Kaya is speaking at her father's funeral, and like at one point, he had two daughters and a son, and one of his daughters said, she said something along the lines of like, I called my dad for everything. Like, and she didn't give examples, but she just said like, I call him for guidance on everything. So like, you get a flat tire, like Kaya's going to call dad. Like you just, can I even change a tire? I don't even know, but you know what I mean? Like you call your parents for guidance on stuff. And I think that girls in particular seem to like go to their dads for that advice and stuff. And then she burst out crying and just said, I don't know who I'm going to call anymore. And that one was like really heavy. Yeah. Like when that girl said that, I was just like, oh my God, like life is, it's a crazy thing.
It is.
You come in and going, and it's just.
And we're at the age now too, I think, where it's really happening. It's really there. And I think when you're a child, you're just so oblivious, and also like your family tries to protect you from hearing about those things. Although I actually do think that in our family, we're quite open about that. But I remember when I was a kid, like nobody died in my mind, right? Yeah. Actually, that's not true, because my neighbor across the street, that was my first death experience. He was 15 years old. I think I've told you this story. Maybe. I think when we've driven by the house. Anyway, his name was Michael. And we played all the time together outside. They had 4 kids, and then we had me and Jesse, and we were always outside playing together. And I remember one day they knocked on the door, and they all came to the door, all the kids except for Michael, and said that he died down at the skate park when he was 15. I don't think I've heard this. You haven't?
I don't think.
Down at the skate park in Barhaven. He died of a blue heart, was what my mom told me. So he must have had like a heart condition, and he just like, I know. And I was a little kid, and I just didn't understand. I'm like, he's just not coming back. Like, I'm never going to see him again. Yeah. And that was my first experience. And then beyond that, here and there, but it was just so, it just didn't seem, I don't know. And then you get older, and it's kind of everywhere. And then that really makes you realize like life is so incredibly short. Yeah. And oh man,
it is, and we like to keep this show lighthearted, and I think we forever will. I mean, that's just who you and I are. Like we're very lighthearted people. We don't take things too serious. But then like when moments of reflection come around like that, it really validates the way that I feel about my life. Where like I remember making my Facebook bio when in 2007, there wasn't many options then. Like there was no stories. Like Facebook was pretty simple. It was like
just like a little square, right? Of what you could.
Yeah, it was like put a picture up and like tell us a thing about it. And in 2007, so 15 years ago, I wrote "Live every day like it's your last." Like that's something that I've just kind of always felt, and I don't know why I felt that. It's just because at that point in time, I wouldn't have known too many people that had passed away.
Well, had your best friend passed away at that point?
No, Ian was still around then. Oh. And he's still with us in our hearts every day. I don't mean it like that, but he was still alive then. But I just, I think it's so important to really make the most of your time on this earth. And there's a YouTube video that was floating around a few years ago where this guy took the life expectancy of the average person. And I don't even know what that number is. I don't want to get this wrong, but like, let's say like 70 years or something like that, give or take. Some people do 95, some do 26. Like you never know, but somewhere in the middle, it's like 70-ish years. And he put a skittle on the ground for every day of your life. And there was this mountain of skittles. It would fill this table. It was a heaping mountain of skittles, and every skittle, was, what's the word I'm looking for? Every skittle was basically a day of your life. There's a word I was looking for, but I'm on the spot. I can't think of it. But anyway, so he basically like right away, he's like, puts his hand through the pile. And he's like, there's how much you sleep. There's a mountain, because I mean, the average person is sleeping like, let's say 6 to 8 hours a day, give or take. Some do 12, whatever. So there's half the mountain's gone. Like there's half your time on this earth is basically spent sleeping. At least a third. Half is gone.
Yeah.
Then he's like, here's how much time you spend working. And everyone's working 8 hours a day for 5 days a week at least. So there's another so now you got to think 2/3 of the pile is gone from sleeping and working.
Yeah.
And then he said, here's how much time the average person spends. It was doing laundry. It was driving to work. It was eating, like brushing your teeth. Like he just was pulling all your Skittles away. And at the end of this thing, like there's this little pile. So if this table was full, there was this little pile of Skittles left. Right. And he goes, here's your time to do what you want to do on this earth. And that's if you have a damn good life.
Yeah.
Like that's if you don't get bad news at 32 or something like that. You know what I mean? And and that one really resonated with me. I was like, oh my God. Like,
you know what though? You have always made comparisons to time and life, like when we were up at the cottage when we first started dating, and you're like, if we do this 12 more times, and you're gonna right, like you've done that forever.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know what your thing is with that, but you've always done it.
Well, it makes me leverage my time on this earth to the best of my capability.
Right.
Because if you sit there and think, like, what am I doing? I probably swim in the ocean like once a year now. It's weird. When I was a kid, I did it all the time.
Yeah.
I get like one ocean swim a year. So let's just say I'm 37 now, and I've got like 30 more years of ocean swims before I'm like with a walker or something.
Right.
I don't know.
You don't know. Yeah.
You just don't know. It's like, what's that? Give me 30 more ocean swims with the kids? Like, that's crazy to me.
I know.
So I don't know. When you think about life that way, it really makes you value your time.
Appreciate it.
And appreciate it, right? So
for me, I think it actually freaks me out. I'm the total opposite, which is why every time that you say something like that, I'm like, stop doing that. Because it makes it seem like life is so precious.
Yeah.
And which it is.
It is.
And it's so short.
Yeah.
Like life is so short.
It is.
And I find like our kids are such, and animals too, actually. Animals and children are a great example of that time that you have, because you just get older and you don't really pay attention to the years, and then you start having kids or you have an animal and you're like, wow, Kai is almost 7 years just flew by. Like there's a word I'm looking for, like anyway, they're a great comparison.
They're a benchmark.
They're
a benchmark.
Yes, and I just find that's insane.
Yeah,
the kids specifically.
I know the
like
exact
Sage
thing
is
you
almost
mean.
2.
Yeah,
wasn't I just pregnant?
I know.
It's wild.
Because they become because you look in the mirror so often at yourself,
Right.
you don't notice the subtle changes.
Yeah.
Like your boob changing sizes now is like a big thing, but like
Yes.
you don't notice the new wrinkle that
Yeah.
evolved over 6 years. Like you don't notice it.
Right.
But when you look at your kids, it's like they're growing like half an inch a month. It seems like.
I know.
So you look at your kids and they become this like a threshold for where time is going, and it's like, what the frig is going on?
I know.
So
I'm really happy we like our kids, by the way.
So I'm not done with this funeral thing because there's a few things that I wanted to bring up about it. God, it isn't meant to be a sad episode.
That's
like
okay.
this man had. So you know when you get, I don't even know what you call them, like the little pamphlet thing.
Yeah, like a brochure kind of.
Yeah, like a little
with like
thing.
his picture and
yeah,
stuff.
like his picture and like. Oh my God, this guy just seemed like the greatest man ever. And it was really cool because I saw a lot of comparisons between me and him. Like when I was hearing about him with his friends talking and stuff, they were saying things and I was like, the only difference between him and I is that he liked playing the guitar and I don't give a shit. I'd rather listen to rap music in the truck. But like, but it was just really cool just hearing about how much time he wanted to spend with his friends and his family, and every moment that he had on this earth, he used it. He really did. Every Friday afternoon when they got off work, dragging the kids up to the cottage and going swimming and stuff. And so anyway, I took a picture of this thing because I really wanted to bring up his they were called his words to live by. And he had 4 sentences on this thing that they put up that is really neat because I think like whoever wrote this thing, I don't know, like I don't have words to live by. So whoever wrote this had like distilled his life down to 4 sentences. Okay. And the first one was, oh, I love this guy so much. I've never met him. The first one was cottage life rocks.
Ain't that the truth?
And so Sheridan and I have been talking about buying a cottage for like probably forever, but we've gotten a little more serious the last year. And like with interest rates and inflation and like people like it's just crazy trying to get property around here. But this has kind of inspired me to be like, we need to get a cottage.
Well, I have lived the cottage life my entire life. We were lucky enough to do that growing up. My dad bought the cottage from his dad, and I started going up there when I was 6 weeks old.
Yeah.
My mom said she put me out in the bassinet with the little cover so the mosquitoes wouldn't get me. And I would say that cottage is my home beyond anything else. When we moved a couple times, when my parents separated, like Otter Lake still feels like the one place that beyond our home, obviously, but I get this feeling there that I don't get anywhere else in the world. It's unexplainable. And when we were up there, we didn't have TV. We didn't have we had one phone, or was it cordless at that time? I think we went from the cord to the cordless. It was an upgrade. I was outside talking to my boyfriends in the outhouse. Once I had a cordless, I swear, because I could hide rather than the cord one. But you know, Mike,
that wasn't a tooth.
But you know, we had VHSs. That's all we had, and all I did was puzzles, swam, and those memories up at the cottage are. You can't explain those memories. And every single person that came up to my cottage felt that same feeling. Yeah. So that first life mantra, yes, is the greatest one I've ever heard. We need a cottage.
Cottage life rocks.
It rocks.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's a different, you disconnect, you go up, you know you're going up there to relax. You make those special moments, memories with your friends, your kids. Like think about us down at the beach yesterday and how much fun we had.
So good.
And they were disconnected from everything. They were just in their own little pocket at the beach, making friends. They didn't care about it. They didn't want to go home on their iPads. And that's just exactly what the cottage life is.
Yeah.
It's
It breaks up the monotony.
Yes.
The day-to-day stuff. Because you get in your routines, right? When you're home, it's like you're doing laundry and you can't help but clean and all that stuff. But you go up to the cottage and there's just a different vibe going on.
You just
there.
do different stuff. Here we have a fire and we haven't roasted marshmallows yet. But I bet you if we were up at the cottage, we'd be sitting around having a bonfire, listening to the Lumineers and roasting marshmallows.
Okay. So let's win the lottery tonight. Okay.
I know. Oh gosh,
they're so damn expensive.
But as you mentioned before, and a very good point. This is just me trying to make sure that when we leave this podcast episode today, we do start looking for cottages again.
Are we shaking our? Let's do this. All right.
Is that it's a great investment.
It is.
Property investment is great no matter what. It's not going to go down.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, I don't know enough, but I'm pretty sure that when you invest money, and as you've said before, it's just one of those things that starts going in somewhere else rather than spending it on useless stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get to enjoy it, and then you're going to make your money back eventually, or the kids, it will go down to the kids.
But they generally appreciate.
Yeah.
So look at our house. We bought our house for $382,000 5 or 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
And the house is probably almost worth $1 million.
Yeah.
It's $1 million house now. So,
mind you, right now everything's crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to dip too much.
Me neither.
I mean, the population's increasing.
I know.
People Nova Scotia is an extremely desirable place.
Yeah.
Given the nature of the world going on right now, fun little factoid is that at the end of World War Z, they land in Nova Scotia. It is the place that.
What's World War Z?
What? It's the Brad Pitt movie.
Oh, I've never seen it.
You've never seen World War Z?
No.
What?
Is it good?
Oh my God, it's so good.
They land in Nova Scotia?
Are you kidding me?
No, I swear.
Oh my God, I thought you loved this movie.
I've never seen it in my life.
Oh my God. Okay, you need to see World War Z. It's amazing.
So we looking for cottages and watching World War Z.
Yeah, so basically at the end of this Brad Pitt movie, at World War Z, everyone's dead. There's zombies all around the world and everything. And where do they land as the sanctuary because it has everything you need to live is Nova Scotia.
Stop.
The movie ends with Nova Scotia, and that's where they have their little sanctuary.
What?
Yeah.
Was Brad Pitt here?
They filmed it. Don't quote me on this. You have to go on the wiki page, but it was supposed to be Cape Breton, I believe, but I think they filmed it on the South Shore. I think, but it's in Nova Scotia. That's where they end up.
That's so cool. I love Nova Scotia.
Why did I bring that up though? It was the people coming here. So anyway, cottages are, like you said, a great investment because it's one of those things that forces you to save. You have to make the mortgage payment. You could Airbnb it out a few times a year, make a few shekels like that. But then at the end of the road, it's then you have two properties. So when you go to retire, it's you could either sell the cottage, take the money and travel, or you could sell your house move to the cottage and just ride it out there, or you could gift the house to the kids and let them take it over and turn it into a party mansion. We'll just go live at the cottage.
After this conversation, pinky promise, cottage is happening.
You see it. You see it right here, people.
Okay, you guys can all come up and party.
Oh my God.
Next episode. Woo!
I don't know. It was just every story about this man was at the cottage.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. There were so many beautiful stories. One thing that really was so funny was his wife. his wife got up on the microphone and she did such an amazing job. I don't know how she kept it together. Like if you passed away, how would I talk at your funeral?
I don't know.
I would be swimming in tears. She kept it together. Did an amazing job. They all did, honestly.
Yeah.
But she said that he had installed a camera, like a security camera. I think it would have been like on the edge of the garage, so you could see the whole property in the cottage and everything. And she was saying, I know every person in this room, all of his friends right now, has received screenshots of his camera saying the weather's better up there right now, and like
always
convincing them to get up there. So that was his words to live by. Number one was cottage life rocks.
Okay.
His second one was choose your battles carefully. And I think those are very important words to live by too, because I think, like, I'll let you jump in on this, but I think that, a couple episodes ago, we were talking about having like micro battles, and that's kind of like what saves our relationship, because we don't let stuff marinate too long and turn into big shit piles that we have to deal with. Like, you and I are really good at like if we have a problem with each other, we bring it up right away. We get it done and over with. But
that's not entirely true. We are both very different, and we have learned to deal with that.
Yes.
Because Matthew is very, very obsessed with the idea of, well, and I know why, and you've mentioned this a couple of times.
It comes back to the same thing.
It comes back to death, and that's what you're going to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because life is so short, you never know what could happen. And I feel like we actually talked about this a couple episodes ago, unless I'm delusional and I'm mixing it in with like real life and that's outside of the podcast. But I'm pretty sure we did talk about like who knows what could happen. You could get in the car and you could get in an accident or whatever. Who knows, right? But you know what? This is coming back to me. I think we did talk about it. Okay, so move along.
Skim by it though.
All right.
But no, I mean, we're not off that yet though. Like picking your battles wisely is an important thing to live by, because like even my own circle of friends, like they'll say things in group chats and shit that I just completely disagree with, and it's like I could start a fight right now and end up in fights with all my friends. But is it worth it?
Right.
Was it really worth it to open that can of worms when really like I've already forgotten what we were talking about, and it's fine. And I just, coming back to the pile of Skittles, like how many of those Skittles do you want to throw on the table and say, I'm going to spend those Skittles fighting with my friends and family? Right. It's just stupid, right?
Yeah.
So anyway.
But that comes full circle with everything. Choose your battles wisely with your kids, with things with them, whether you want to dive into an argument, or I'm trying to think of an example of something that one of our kids might do where I'm like, is this the one where I get... Right. Or even with you or with whoever. I mean, choosing your battles wisely can come with everything in life. It could come with work. It could come with social stuff, everything, all the time. Choose your battles wisely. And I totally agree. And I feel like I've grown as a person and have reflected in my brain on like choosing, like a great example is how much you piss me off when you forget to, because you know that I am so... I'm not sure if OCD is the right word. I don't want to just throw that out there, but how particular I am with so many things in the house, right? God. And in my brain, but in my head, I'm like, how are you not thinking of me and thinking of this? But then you're just not thinking about it. So instead of blowing up, for example, when you don't close, it sounds ridiculous when I say it, but if you don't close the cabinet by our room, or if you don't push in the baskets or whatever, I'm like, it's so simple. Like, just close the freaking thing if you know it drives me insane. Yeah. Or just hang up your towel.
Look at you right now. Look at her. Look how angry you're getting.
But I choose my battles. I'm like, all right, okay, this isn't the time. This isn't the one. Like, what's the point, right? What am I going to gain out of it? Because you know that I want you to close the cabinet.
So if you're so adamant about this, there's times you do pick on me about it, and you chose for that battle to happen.
Well, sometimes I'm like, how not? It's like when you walk up the stairs and you just leave the whole... You're doing a lot better at that because I started talking to you about it. But like
picking up the little laundry piles and stuff. Yeah.
Sometimes I saw this reel the other day where it was like when moms go up the stairs versus when dads go up, and I'm like, the dad's just walking up oblivious. The mom's grabbing 1,000 things to get up the stairs. I'm like, it's so true. Yeah. But anyway, as to that one, choose your battles wisely. So important with everything in life.
Yes. Like
the amount of things that I think both of us too, like with our families and our extended families and stuff like that, like you just need to choose what it is that is important to you, the most important, because otherwise, I mean, we're all just people. I feel like this is like my mantra for this podcast, but we're all just humans trying to figure it out, and you need to think if it's going to be beneficial for everyone together, or if it's just you being an asshole. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all drop the ball.
Yes.
How many times have I picked a fight with a family member or something like that? And and I think you could probably say this about me. I blow the top off. I'm a complete jackass, but man, I'm quick to come back with my tail between my legs and say, I am sorry.
Yeah.
And I apologize a lot.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my Skittles saying sorry to people, but that's okay though. It's good to it's good to know when you frigged up and learn from it.
Well, I was going to say, I think one of the battles that one of my friends chose wisely, which actually was important, was when they started calling me out for my lack of communication, which we all know is a thing. And I could make excuses and say, I'm busy. I'm a mom of 3. Like, we're all living our lives and stuff like that. And it's true. As you get older, you're just so busy. The amount of time is just so...
Oh, yeah.
Anyways. And... But I also know that my whole life I've been a terrible communicator, no matter what. It's just my thing. And I don't know if it's like if somebody asks me to do something and I know I can't do it, I almost feel bad saying no. So I'd rather, we've talked about this. So I'd rather just not answer, which is so much worse. Like just say no.
Too.
Sheridan, say no. And then they'll be like, okay, great. Thanks for telling me. Right. But anyway, so my girlfriend decided to call me out for it and say like, you're really shitty at communicating. You're great when you're here. You're an awesome friend when I'm with you, but when you're not, like you suck, basically.
Yeah,
and it really hurt my feelings, but it made me reflect and think, yeah, I do suck. I should try harder.
And we've seen them like every day since.
And my messages now are like novels. And I mean, it doesn't mean I always even want to send them, but when I do, I'm like, I'm glad that I did that because I want them to know that I care and that I'm there. So that was a battle that was chosen wisely and progressed and was good and had a great result rather than just sitting on it and her stewing on that, right? Like that was something that I think was a battle chosen wisely.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah. To touch on that for a second, I mean, that's definitely one thing that I find kind of annoying about society now is that we're all so connected now that like, especially in your world where your work is on your phone. So like people will see you communicating and making stories on Instagram and shit and be like, this mother effer is freaking on there, but not calling me. It's like, but
so
that's
unfair.
me working.
I know.
But it's this thing now where it used to be like you'd pick your phone up once a day and call your mom and like you talk to your friends on the weekend or whatever. But now it's like, if you don't write me back within an hour and I see that red receipt, you suck.
I know.
And it is. This is something that we've nurtured as humans. We've created this environment where everything's instant.
I totally
Everything
agree.
is instantaneous. And it's almost kind of annoying because I'm not always in the mood to talk to people.
I know.
And you write them back. I love you guys.
And the
but then the
conversation keeps
conversation
going.
was like,
I
fuck,
know.
and I got 80 of those on the go. It's
Whereas
like,
when you'd call on the phone for it's like, okay, goodbye, Suzanne.
Yeah.
And then you never see
I
or
love you. Talk to you next month. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
But touching on what you say about my work, I totally agree with you. And I think a lot of my friends have now recognized that. Like when I was in Ottawa with one of my best friends and she sat there and she said, at first it would frustrate me because I'd send you all these texts and then I see you like popping up on Instagram and you're not writing me back. And she's like, but I get it now. Like that is your job. You are showing up for your like, right? Like it's not like I bug people at their work being like, so you're at work though. So that means you can probably message me back.
Yeah.
Like it's so separate.
Yeah.
It's so separate. And for me, work, no matter what, me being on Instagram, it's like I'm so like I love connecting with everybody and it feels very personal, but it's also always work for me. When it's not sponsored stuff, it's still work because I want people to feel
engaging.
And to feel like they love me for who I am. So it's not like I can just be posting 1,000 ads. Oh my gosh, what a nightmare for everyone, right? So it's like no matter what, it is work and so much work. And I think a lot of people never understand what really goes into people's careers and their work life. But I think a lot as well with my work, people really don't see it. They just see things pop up and they're like, oh yeah, she just took a great picture, when there's so much that happens behind the scenes.
That's another episode.
Yeah.
What's
the next one?
I really want to get into our work life, maybe next episode or something like that. No, after an episode like this, we need to get funny again for an episode. But then we should really get into work stuff. Like someone said that to me yesterday. They're like, one of the best episodes you could make is like talking about how you got into your career. Oh. And I can't remember who said it. It was just in the last couple days.
Yeah, you should definitely do that.
Another banger of a words to live by here. Say yes to everything that you can.
You seen that movie?
Yes
Day?
Man?
No, the Yes Day.
Yes Day. Yes Man's another one. I think, isn't Yes Man a Jim Carrey one where he has to say yes to everything?
Probably very similar to the Yes Day one, which is where the parents decide they're going to let their kids say yes to everything. And they end up having the greatest adventure of their lives, getting to know their kids better, all of these things, the funnies, the sads, just saying yes. And actually, before you even dive into that, I remember when we were in the peak of the pandemic and we were home for so long, and every day was Groundhog Day, and you looked at me and you said, because we have a good group of friends where we don't always all have to get together. We just kind of like go off and do our own thing. And there's been times where you stayed at home and decided not to, and then you're like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And you said, after this, you're like, I'm never saying no. I'm never saying no again. Now, granted, you have a little bit.
3 months later, hell's no.
But it's true. You're like, I'm saying yes. Yeah. And it's so, so true. Like, just say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. Because if you knew, if a doctor looked at you, or an oracle, let's say, a genie or something, and said, Sheridan, you are going to die in November of 2023 or whatever.
Yeah.
You'd be saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
And people take their time on this earth for granted. God, this is heavy. But people do. You take everything for granted.
I know.
Until you find out it's gone. It's like how many times you've poured a glass of water and not given a shit. If the water stopped working, you'd be like, oh my God, what I do for a glass of water right now? Yeah. Or like you lose power and it's like you take for, like our neon sign wouldn't work. We couldn't have a show anymore.
No, but there's even things like when something in your body hurts, like when you have your back is out or your body is, you hurt your back a couple Christmases ago and you don't realize how awesome it is to have a working back until your back's not working. And then you're like, I'll never take my back for granted again.
Yeah.
Or when you have a cold and you can't breathe and you're all gross and you're like, that day that I can breathe properly again will be the best day of my life. Like, I'll never take that for granted again. And then we kind of just do. We just sort of go back to, but yes, like saying yes. So I'm just trying to think now, how did we go off topic there so quickly?
No, you're on topic.
Yeah.
Saying yes to stuff.
Yeah.
And the reason that you say yes to stuff is because
you never know.
You never know when you're not going to have those things anymore.
Yeah.
Like what if I broke my back and couldn't go on a water slide anymore? Like if the kids want to go to freaking Splash Mountain, we're going to Splash Mountain.
You're getting on the slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another example of that would be when I had COVID back in early February, I think it was. I was one of the select few that lost my taste. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't gone long. Thankfully, I got it back in about 4 or 5 days, but I couldn't taste anything.
Yeah.
And like all I could think about was like, oh
that's
my God, what
food.
I do for a freaking cheeseburger right now.
And to be able
like,
to taste it.
Yeah. And then a month passes and you're just like taking it for granted again when like actually just the simple ability to just taste your food.
Yeah.
So like, say yes to things. And another amazing line from this man.
But also say yes to everything, yes. And also don't be afraid to say no sometimes too. And on the flip side, right?
Yeah.
So say yes, absolutely say yes and go into it like full 100% do it. But then also like don't be scared to say no sometimes.
So I actually just read an article yesterday. Tom Hanks's words to live by.
All right.
Say no. Say no to everything. No,
but it's true. Also true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tom Hanks's thing that he thinks makes him successful is that he's not afraid to say no to people. Mm-hmm. So like when they want you to come out and do something and like instead of just not responding, just simply say, no, I can't today.
I think you just need to be confident in your decision. You're confident in that no. You're pumped. You said, no, I don't want to hang out with my friends today. Fuck them. You're at home watching Netflix, living your best life. You're like, I'm so happy I said no, right?
Yeah.
Or say yes, go and be like, this is the best day ever. I'm so glad that I said yes. Rather than
it took
just
you 4 episodes to drop an F-bomb, bud. There's
no, I think I did. I did already. I hope you bleeped it out from the past because it's definitely there.
Ooh, that was a hard F-bomb.
I do have a potty mouth, actually. I would say, not like you, sir, but I definitely have
lips over
What?
Potty,
okay,
what's
the last one?
Okay, so in the last one, and this is one that's probably going to be a segue to something else that I think we could talk about in this episode to keep the heaviness going.
Yeah.
Is if I make it through the next 20 minutes though crying, we'll see here. Be nicest to the people that others are mean to. And that was something that this man lived by.
Yeah.
What?
Why are we crying?
I don't know. I'm definitely probably gonna end up crying here at some point. But like, to think that they distilled this man's life down to 4 sentences, and that was one of the ones that they picked. How fucking awesome was this person?
Right.
I don't know. So I have to use my imagination because I don't know him.
Yeah.
But just to think that one of 4 things that they would say about him is that he would find people that people were mean to, and that's who he would go after and be nice to.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Sheridan. Okay, I had to step out for a quick pee break.
And I had to burp.
I drink a lot of these. What am I on now? I'm on the watermelon sparkling waters.
Yeah, shouts out sparkling water.
Yeah, they're so good. But yeah, I don't want to miss that.
Can we
last
just talk
point.
about also how Sage is obsessed with bubblies? Like most kids when they drink it, Sage is what, 21 months. Most kids are like, and Sage just gulps it without even making, like he doesn't even.
Sage is crazy.
There's not water noises. There's nothing. He's chugging the bubbly. It's like, why?
Yeah.
I can't even handle drinking a bubbly without making that face. And Sage is just in the back thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, the last point.
Okay, the last point, run through this one more time, though, is be nicest to people that others are mean to. And I think that's a really important line to live by, too, because I think that it's just important to raise good children. And I think that if we all did that, if we all showed those acts of kindness to people in front of our children, even when no one's watching, just like exuding that happiness and that helping nature to everybody, it goes a long way in helping people.
Well, I think too, when you do it as well, even when parents emulate that and do those simple things, that it trickles right down into your kids. And like a perfect example of that is when I remember, what are you giggles about just thinking of you and Sage drinking it?
Sorry.
When you did that in the winter with that woman, and I forget exactly what happened, but I remember Kaya coming home and telling me, Daddy helped somebody out of the ditch. And I didn't even think anything of it because you do stuff like that all the time, or you bring groceries for people, just like tiny acts of kindness. But kindness is so important. But like his point was actually talking about to like surround yourself and gravitate towards the people that are having a hard time.
Yeah.
And that's so, so, so important in all aspects of life,
Yeah.
but especially like I remember it when I was growing up, when I was in the school, people can be so mean in school.
Yeah.
Kids can be so mean. And that's why the first thing that I do when I go pick our kids up from Excel is I go over to the teacher and I say, how is Theo today? How is Kaya today? I need to know what their behavior was like, so whether I need to fix it or not.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they'll say to me, or even Theo will come up and I wasn't nice to so-and-so. Well, we're walking right over to so-and-so and we're getting to the bottom of this. You're going to talk it out and you're going to make sure that they know that you are apologetic, however you want to go about saying that you feel that you weren't acting kind, and that they know that you feel that way, so that they can then walk away and say, oh, well, right? Like bullies are just like, oh, it makes me so mad to think about bullies.
I know.
And I know that you've mentioned that you weren't always the nicest person growing up. Perhaps you bullied people a little bit, maybe, but even, and like you talk about that now because you've grown up and you reflect on it and you say, I wasn't always maybe the nicest. I mean,
the percentage of my life I spent being an asshole to other kids was probably less than 1%.
Yes.
I'm just saying I wasn't perfect, and I kind of wish I was. Like I have things in those early years that were regrettable.
Yes.
Like I hit a girl in the face with a snowball one time.
Yeah.
And it was awful. Mm-hmm. It was just such a stupid thing to do.
Right.
And at the time, my stepfather, what he made me do is I had to go to that girl's door every day.
Right.
And carry her backpack to school for a week or two.
Yeah.
And like to me, this was like earth shattering.
Right.
Like I can't believe I'm carrying her backpack to school. Like all my friends were gonna laugh at me. But like my stepfather's stance on that at the time was like, you did something terrible and you're gonna own up to it and you're gonna help that girl. And it kind of put me in like a vulnerable position with my friends. And like it seemed so hard at the time, but I actually think that was such a beautiful way to teach me something, because I never threw the snowball at a girl again. And it was just, I don't know. I totally agree. It's
well, even thinking about like when I was doing my teaching stuff, which again, I didn't do it for overly long, and that could be a topic for another day, but I missed the classroom a lot. And I remember specifically there was this one little boy. Oh my gosh, he was so sweet. And I loved that teacher too, actually.
How old was the kid?
Well, what's grade 5? 10?
Around there, 10-ish. That's a good guess.
And I just remember he was wonderful and he was kind and he was very quiet and he always kind of stuck to himself, like to his own. And around student teacher interview times, because you could still be in the classroom at that point and have those. We don't get to have those anymore, which is really a damn shame, because there's nothing better than going in and having that face-to-face and talking to the teacher, seeing the environment that they're in and stuff. And I was lucky enough that, and not every practicum teacher did this, but she let me stay for the parent-teacher interview. And I just sat there quietly. Like I didn't say a peep, actually. I just sat there in silence, taking it all in and making notes about like for my future and how I would do it. And this mom specifically came in and she was talking about her son, and then she looked over at me and she said, you know, you've made a huge difference in my son's life, even these past couple months he being here, because he always felt like he was a little bit bullied, and you know, I would gravitate towards him, give him a hug. It didn't need to be anything huge, but it needed to be enough for him to felt like he was loved, and that, you know, I wanted to hear from him, and it made such a big difference. And hopefully
Something so little made such a big difference.
And hopefully that rippled into his future. And, you know, he just took something away from that and thought, like, she cares. Like, she cares about me. And I did. And I was so happy that I could make such a difference with that for him. And, you know, bullies, and he didn't say bullies. He just said be kind to the people that... Can you read that?
The exact line is be nicest to people others are mean to. That's kind of bullying for sure.
Right. And like, I think that, you know, we, especially with our kids, are so strict about that. Like, I don't find we're very strict parents about a lot of things, actually. No. If you were to level us,
battles.
Right. But if you were to put us on a scale, I would say we're more,
passive?
Sure. Like, there's a word.
Lenient?
Okay.
Lenient parents? Okay.
Right. Like, we're not overly strict, but there's certain things that I think that you and I completely agree on. And that is absolutely one of them, is being strict with being kind to others and showing kindness. And I mean, naturally, some kids, like even Theo, for example, Theo's going to listen to this when he's like, really, Mom, again? But even Theo, you know, like okay, so let's just straight up say that Theo called a girl a mean word at Excel, and it was very unkind. Yeah. And the teacher came over and told us, and our mouths were just open. Like,
oh my God, my blood was boiling.
We couldn't believe it, right? But in Theo's mind, and I'm so sure of this because then I went and asked Kaya after, I'm like, do you hear bad words on the playground? And she's like, all the time. Like, all the time, Mom. I'm like, well, what are they? And she starts spitting off every bad word. I'm like, great. So it's definitely on the playground. But Theo probably just took that word and was like testing his boundaries. Like, well, what if I go call this girl a this? How's that going to go down for me?
It was a BITCH,
right.
is what he said.
Right. Yeah. But he doesn't know what it means.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't know what bitch means, but it's our job to explain to him how unacceptable that is so that doesn't happen again. And you need to stay on your kids like that all the time. And it's exhausting. Parenting is so tiring.
It's so tiring.
It's all consuming. Like when Theo was going through that stuff, that's all I could think about 24/7. It puts rifts in your relationships. It puts rifts in your work life. Like, I remember when Theo was going through that stuff and you couldn't even work.
I couldn't focus on anything.
On anything.
Like, I think too, it's about being held accountable, because I think when bad things happen, or if your kids are misbehaving, or like even through your teenage years or anything, it's like we're so quick to point fingers at like what might be considered like the easiest solution for stuff.
Right.
When really, I think sometimes as parents, like, and we all do it, and the psychologist actually said not to do it, or don't hold yourself too accountable for things. But like, you can't help but look in the mirror and be like, if my son's at school calling kids bitches and hitting people and stuff, it seems like it's a reflection of me and like how I'm parenting. And even if I might not be at home, be like, make sure you call everyone a bitch. Like, that's not what I mean. I more so mean, like, if we don't bring our children home and reprimand them and explain these things to people and how the repercussions it can have on someone's future, then what service are we doing to our children?
Right.
We're letting them down.
Right.
And we're letting down future generations and all the people in their proximity by not holding ourselves accountable sometimes for what our kids do.
Sorry, school just reminded me of the school bus that went by when I pantsed you. I'm like, what a perfect segue. So Matt has this
my God.
For a very long time. I think he's now finally learned to leave me alone. But for a long time, Matt's favorite thing to do was pants me around the house. Oh my, it makes me so mad. What is with that? It's like I see it all the time too with everyone. Like, there's a credit card swipe going up the stairs, and you just felt like it was always perfect opportunity to pants me. And of course, I'm never wearing underwear, and I'm just like,
booty running around the house.
So Matt, you pants me for the thousandth. Oh my, forget it. Thousands. Oh, I can't.
The thousandth
Thousandth time. Yep, that's good. And I had just had enough. So we went up to, why was I there? We were at the library and you intercepted me for some reason.
No, I didn't intercept you. We were getting out of the same vehicle. It was back in the Benz days or something like that. I don't even remember, but.
No, you had the truck. You had the truck.
Oh, you're right. We were in the Sierra. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And I just thought, like, what a perfect opportunity to pants Matt.
Let me paint a picture first, though. Like, this isn't in the comfort of our own home. We are in a Sobeys parking lot in front of the library with, like, probably about 1,000 people around.
Well, no, but there's the highway right there, right? So I pants Matt, and I didn't expect his full weenie to flop.
Sheridan pulled my freaking shorts down, but my boxers came down too. So there I am in the Sobeys parking lot.
I don't think you realize either until like, it's very windy down there. Like, what is catching the wind? Oh, just my penis.
Why is my penis cold?
And you just stood there and you're like, well, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
And the school bus just happened to go by, like the high school school bus. And I was like, oh, my.
Oh, man.
That was
it was cold that day.
Yeah. That was hilarious.
Oh, it was one of the funniest things that ever happened in our entire relationship, I think.
And I honestly think after that, the pantsing was over. So Matt obviously learned his lesson. Reflecting, I don't think I've been pants since. So success.
Oh, my God. That is so funny. Because, I just remember standing there like I froze up like a deer in headlights. I just looked down. I was like, well, that was a bit much.
I redeemed myself.
What are we talking about? Okay, we had to wrap up the thing about this amazing man first. So
yes.
We'll continue on the funny stuff in a sec. But the one thing I wanted to say is that Bruce's dad seemed like an incredible person, and his 4 lines and his words of wisdom to live by were like so random. The cottage thing and stuff, but when you look at it, it's like
as a big picture.
What an awesome guy.
Yeah.
And
you just hope to be that awesome, right?
Yeah, and like I think when the best thing that can happen out of death, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but when someone passes, I think that if I was 6 feet deep in the ground and like my heavenly soul looking down, I would hope that people learn something from my passing. You know what I mean? When they like one of the other things they said at his funeral was like, we don't want anyone crying here, or like the remorse and that kind of stuff. It was like celebrate his life, because that's how he would want. Go drink after this. They said the worst thing that could happen to him right now is like knowing that all of his best friends were out here without him kind of thing. And
missing the best party of his life, right?
Yeah, and I just like in his passing, his 4 lines for me really, really resonated. And like, I feel like I'm going to walk away, meaning probably hundreds of people in that room that day are going to walk away and just like grasp life a little tighter and enjoy it a little more. So like, anyway, super awesome guy.
How special is that?
It's very special.
Like as somebody that you never even got that you were lucky enough to meet, but you still walked away feeling like you learned something, encouraged, inspired. That's really cool.
I know.
Really, really cool.
I walked away from that feeling different about, and I don't know if you noticed or not, but I came home and gave Kai the biggest kiss I've ever given her on her cheek, and I held her so damn tight. Yeah. And just holding your kids freaking tight and just everything. Anyway, we'll get off that, but it was a beautiful service, and I'm glad I got to be a part of just seeing it and absorbing all the information that came out of it and the stories and everything, because it just changes you. Yeah. It just changes you, and you reflect on life and stuff, and it was good. I don't know how we went from that to pantsing back to this.
I don't know, but your sister texted us this morning because we told her to watch the Batman movie.
Yep.
And it was incredible. Yeah. And I just, the vibes of like for some reason, the gems, like reflecting on your skin right now. I'm like, that is so the vibe of the movie. Mm-hmm. Like, what an incredible movie. I don't know why I'm so intense right now, but it was
so good.
Because I was a huge Batman fan, like when Christian Bale was like, those were also incredible.
Fire.
Super awesome movies, and they weren't overly complicated, which I like because I have a hard time following a storyline sometimes. I feel like you do too.
Yeah.
I know you do, because the amount of times
the phone up.
The amount of times you pause it and you're like, so what's happening? I'm like, how do I know more than you do? But they were pretty easy to follow, which is great. Just a good action movie, great whatever. But this one was so different in like an incredible way. Yeah. Just thinking back on like when Joker came out, and I think a lot of people were they had mixed feelings, because remember you came back and you're like, But you came out of it and you're like, that was the greatest movie ever. And then we ran into somebody and she was like, I didn't like it at all. So it was very...
Yeah,
because
I think super polarizing movie. It was depressing.
Well, when we went to the theater, I don't think people knew what to expect. Because when we went to the theater, there was kids in there, and I looked around at you and I was like, "There's," because they didn't realize, they thought it was just another Marvel movie, right?
Yeah.
And turns out it was like the most
DC.
heavy.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's DC movie. Yeah. Don't
sorry.
get it mixed up.
Yeah. Anyways, and then it was just so ridiculous, but ridiculously intense.
Yeah.
And some people absolutely loved it, and some people polarizing, like you said. But this Batman movie. It had everything in it.
It was so good.
The amount of times we stopped each other and we're like, this is the best movie ever. This is the best movie
probably
ever.
15 times.
Yeah.
It was like a lot of those superhero movies, and rightfully so, they kind of get put under this blanket of like cornball shit movies. Like a lot of famous directors and stuff are like, if you entertain yourself with that kind of film, don't even watch my movies.
Oh, really?
But they get hated on a lot because it's just like eye candy fluff. Like there's no real like depth to it or anything. But the Batman movies, in contrast to a lot of those Marvel movies, like when you sit down to a Batman movie, and Christopher Nolan, I believe is his name, kind of changed the format. It's like when you sit down to a Batman movie, they're good movies, and the whole Christian Bale series like really lived up to that. And so, like, when they dropped the Joker movie, it was like, we're making good movies now with the Batman series.
Yeah.
And then this new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson. Wow.
Is it Pattinson or Patterson?
No, there's no R. It's Pattinson, I think. Robert Pattinson, I think.
Okay.
Or Pattison.
We don't know.
Anyway, it's... Like, I'm a creative director, art director, designer. Like, I really appreciate when things look good. And, like, that was one of those movies that you could pause on any frame in the entire movie and it looked like a painting.
I
like,
agree.
Like that first scene there where Batman comes out of the shadows in the subway.
So cool.
Like, just like the way that he was completely in the black, and as his face kind of came through, like the way it lit his eyes and his nose and as he peeled out of the shadows, and then everyone looked over and he came out and whooped their ass.
Well,
like,
one thing that you said about
wow.
the movie that I actually didn't even really think of until after, and I honestly think that might have been one of my favorite things about it, was how you said that he didn't come out being invincible, because Batman never was, as you said. He's like, he was just a guy not just a guy, he was Batman, but he didn't have any superpowers or whatever.
Yeah, he had tools and he was smart.
Yeah, and in this movie, it really showed, like, when he jumped out of, please.
So we'll make this spoiler free, but he wipes out when he tries to fly. He hurts.
That's not that big of a spoiler.
Some people might be like, did he fly?
Yeah, no, they won't watch the movie. You said he flew, so won't be watching that tonight.
Oh, well, I guess I'll skip the 3-hour movie.
I'm looking outside and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we're wrapping up here and we should go to the beach and get our kids. Well, or maybe don't get our kids and go to the beach. And I'm going to read more of my Colleen Hoover books.
Yeah. Well, Sheridan, I
'Cause
love
I love
you.
her.
Give me a high five. This episode was
we should make a
heavy
handshake.
one, but
we should make a handshake.
yeah, let's do it. Okay.
No, not right now. I feel like
boom. That's a 2 gems handshake.
Yeah, adds the effects.
Okay, we love all you guys. Super excited about the show. That was episode 4.
Yes.
Next episode, we want to do dirty little secrets. I really want to.
Oh, me
How about
too.
you?
Oh, I
Maybe
sure
they're too
do.
dirty.
No. This is gonna be good.
You'll find the next episode behind the curtain at the movie store with the mirror and everything.
Exactly. No,
It's gonna be pretty pornographic.
It's gonna be always the point. It's gonna be great. I'm excited.
'Kay.
See you next week.
Okay, like
at
and
the
subscribe.
beach.
We love you guys.
Bye.
Mwah.
It's the Two Gems Podcast.